Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily. My daughter Grace is almost 1 year old. She's trying to put herself down for a nap right now, so if you hear her crying, she's fighting the second nap a little bit. But we are in the middle of a series I'm really excited about called Purposeful Play, where we're talking about all of the different ways that you can understand your baby's development and the skills that they're trying to acquire at any point, and then find activities and toys and things that you can do to help them to meet those skills. So today we're talking about how you can play with your baby when they are 3 to 6 months old. And this is a really fun phase. They're starting to wake up to the world and you are starting to feel maybe a little bit more like yourself than you did during that newborn stage. Your baby stays awake a little bit longer. They can make some eye contact, maybe they start to smile or coo. It's just overall a lot more responsive and it's really fun. So what are some of the skills your baby is working to gain at this age? There's some big ones. So let's talk about gross motor development first. So with gross motor skills, you're still going to want to continue with that tummy time. That's super, super important. Will continue to be sort of the basic building block for all of their gross motor development down the line. Like I mentioned in the last video, a great way to help with this is to prop them up on a boppy or my best friend, as well as giving them things to look at and do while they're there on their tummy. At this age, as your baby starts to get a little bit older, it can be fun to take the activity gym that I mentioned in the last video and hang different things that they can look at during tummy time. And then as they get older, they can start to reach out to try to grasp it. One of the other big gross motor developments that happens at this time is your baby starts to roll. And that's super exciting because it's their first step towards being mobile. So one of the ways that you can help to encourage this is to take a toy that they really like, or maybe a pacifier if that's their thing, and place it just out of their reach when they're either doing tummy time or when they're laying on their back. You can make this a little bit easier by starting your baby laying on their side rather than on their back or their tummy so they don't have as far to roll. That can be a really great way to encourage your baby to start that rolling process. Your baby's also starting to work on some of that leg strength that will help them to bear weight, crawl, and eventually walk. One of the ways that we really like to encourage this was to have some sort of batting activity. So we would take that play gym that I mentioned and we tied bells and other things that made sound to it, and we put it down by her feet and let her start to kick at it, and it helped her to kind of wake up to the fact that her legs are there. I've also seen people sew little bells, or sometimes we took this little bell thing and fastened it around her ankles so that when she kicked, it made sound and it encouraged her to do that. Another way you can do that, I've seen people tie helium balloons, just tie the string around their feet so that when baby kicks, the balloon moves up and down and it encourages them to make those big movements with their legs. Okay, so we covered gross motor development. What else is going on? So 3 to 6 months is kind of the beginning of some of those fine motor developments, use of the hands so that your baby can write and eat and all of those other important things that we do with our hands. So 3 to 6 months, your baby is starting to work on their palmar grasp, which is sort of grabbing things very loosely with their fingers against their palm. And you'll see this as they begin to work on grabbing things. So at this age, you want to offer lots and lots of opportunities for them to grab things and bring them to their mouths eventually. So you want them to be reaching for things, you want to offer things that they can hold close to them, lots of opportunities to work on this motion. Some good options for that, we have this squish toy that Grace really liked. As she moved it, it would kind of make some different sounds. She could also start to tee on some of the little balls, but lots of options for working on this. Another option for this is a rattle, something that they can easily wrap their fist around like this and shake and hear that cause and effect. Another way to encourage that grasp is to tie things with elastic to that activity gym that I mentioned. Trust me, we got so much use out of that thing. But if you take some elastic and you tie it around, say, some wooden rings or a teether or even a pacifier that they really like, and then hang that over them, they'll start to reach out and try to grab it. You can do this both in tummy time to encourage them to lift themselves up and try to reach, or you can do it while they're laying on their back to just work on their hand-eye coordination and ability to grasp things. I really liked tying those items with elastic instead of string, so she had to reach up to try to grab the teether or the pacifier, and then she could bring it to her mouth and it would kind of bounce back. That gave her a little bit more mobility in that way. In addition to working on their grasp, babies at this age will also start to work on their hand-to-hand transfer. So the more that you can give them small objects that they can kind of pass back and forth. Originally we did this a lot with the pacifier. We worked on her grabbing it and she would sort of pass it back and forth. That didn't happen until a little bit closer to 6 months, but you want to also be working on their ability to kind of pass things back and forth like this. So we covered their gross motor development. Maybe they're doing lots of tummy time, they're rolling, they're working on their grasp. What else? So in addition to those things, babies aged 3 to 6 months are starting to awaken to the world and experience their senses. So it's a really fun time to give them lots of opportunities to feel different textures, hear different sounds, smell different things, and just see different environments. For those things, you don't really need a lot of toys. You just need to kind of look at your home more creatively and think about it as you would if you were a brand new human who had never seen anything in the world. So one of the things that we would do with Grace is we would either hold her or put her in the baby carrier and just take exploratory walks around the house. I would go up to the fridge and open it up and let her feel how cold it is, let her sort of look at all of the different colors of the different food packaging. We would go into the closet, I would run her fingers over the different clothes, or we would take her outside and just let her feel the bark on the trees and see the grass. Experiencing different things that they have never felt before is really important to them to start forming their basis of what this world is and where they fit in it. Sorry, I just realized there was a cloud that passed in front of the camera and made it really dark. But back to sensory, there are a few things you can purchase to kind of help with this. We got a set of sensory balls at this age, which are little plastic balls that have different textures, and she would start to try to grasp for those. Another thing that a lot of babies really like are these little tag papers. I just made these, but you can find them on Amazon as well, and it's basically just like crinkly paper inside of fabric. But she could hear the different sounds. I put different textures of ribbon in this little wooden ring. They can just start to feel all of those different things and then hear the sound. Cognitively, at this age, babies are starting to recognize familiar faces, and they also might start to string letters together to make some sounds that are not just crying, which is very exciting for you. But you can continue to encourage this by talking to your baby, just like we talked about in the last video. We also sing to her a lot at this age, trying to coax that first smile or giggle out. But talking and singing are things that you should be doing with your child all the way through, and they're really easy because you don't require any physical items, you don't have to purchase it. It's just you spending time with your kid, giving them that face-to-face interaction that's really the most valuable. Alright, that's all I had for today. Like I mentioned, I'm going to keep these first 2 videos pretty short and sweet because there's really not all that many things that you need to do with your babies when they're this little, and I don't want to overload you with all this new information that you have to do in top of learning how to be a new mom. There's plenty on your plate. You're doing great. Have fun playing with your baby.